Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our product demo webinar for the Summer 21 release of ElectroNeek's RPA platform. This is an exciting release that provides many new capabilities for our managed service provider partners. Before we go further, I have a couple of quick housekeeping items to go over. The webinar is being recorded and we'll make it available on demand within the next day or so. And we will also have a Q&A session after the end of the presentation and demo. So please use the Zoom Q&A feature to ask your questions. My name is John Emmett. I'm head of marketing for North America here at ElectroNeek, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. With me today is Timothy Collins, Senior Customer Support Specialist at ElectroNeek, and Timothy will be doing the product demo and will also answer all of your technical questions. So welcome, Timothy.
Hello, everybody.
ElectroNeek is focused on providing an RPA ecosystem for managed service providers. We have more than 500 customers around the globe that use bots created with our software to automate business processes. We have partners and customers in North America, Latin America, EMEA, Eastern Europe, and India. ElectroNeek's mission is to empower service providers to start and grow RPA businesses. We want those businesses to accelerate the future of work. We're very focused on supporting managed service providers, and our unique licensing model allows MSPs to grow their automation business very profitably because we don't charge for bot licenses. So let's take a quick look at our model. So here's how it works. ElectroNeek provides an RPA ecosystem that allows MSPs to build bots that automate client business processes. They can build and deploy any number of bots to their clients because, again, we don't charge a bot licensing fee like other RPA vendors do. And the MSPs can manage their bots using our SaaS Orchestrator product. And we'll talk more about that here in the demo. And of course, clients buy, or typically they would buy a subscription to your RPA services from your MSP, you as their MSP. We also help our partners with leads, sales, and marketing support. So we're there to help you generate and grow your business. The ElectroNeek Summer 21 release has many powerful new features to help managed service providers enhance their team's productivity and win more RPA business. So in this release, we have updates to all three of the components in our platform. So that includes Studio Pro, which is our development platform where you build your bots. It includes updates to SaaS Orchestrator, which is our bot management tool. And we'll talk more about multi-tenancy support in Orchestrator, which is new in this release. And lastly, the bot runner, which is basically the tool that allows you to execute your bot automations in your client environments. The release provides many benefits for our MSP partners, and that includes things like the ability to better manage your RPA business using our SaaS Orchestrator, which now, as I mentioned, supports multi-tenancy. So this makes it really easy for you to manage multiple clients using our platform. You can also use new client dashboards to manage bots across multiple clients, and you'll see more about that in the demo. You can build bots even faster with new low-code features that are in this release. You can find new RPA opportunities using APIs that allow you to integrate your ElectroNeek RPA automations with other existing systems. And you can also scale your dev team faster with support for the Python programming language. And lastly, you can win more enterprise business with the new surface automation capabilities in this release. So covering things like Citrix and RDP. Now we'll play the product demo video where you'll see all the great new features in this Summer 21 release.
Hi. Today I'd like to share some of the key innovations and changes that have been added to the new Summer 21 release. Let's begin. So the first thing you probably noticed is that the activities section has been completely reworked. We've taken all the activities and put them into subheaders so they can be conveniently located by topic. For instance, all the activities that require graphical user interface is all tucked under GUI automation. And it's further broken down into subheaders underneath that. Activities that have to deal with the operating system, like files and clipboard and command prompt, they've been put underneath OS automation. Anything that deals with automation for Microsoft Office, like Word and Excel, Office 365, they've been put under a subheader for Microsoft Office, and so on. And you'll see that theme throughout the activities section. We added Python as a new supported coding language. That's going to be underneath the programming header. We'll talk more about that later, though. So speaking of new activities, there's quite a few more, and each of these will be discussed in their own section. So as you probably already know, our development studio allows you to use no-code and low-code solutions to quickly create your bots. Our Summer 21 release brings plenty of new low-code features, such as advanced Excel, Outlook, PDF, and even system activities. So first up is our Excel activities. I'm really happy about these. We've added a few activities to help increase your productivity with spreadsheets. Now you can work directly with columns. So you're not limited with just working with rows. The column-based activities correspond with the row activities we already have. So let's go ahead and show an example, shall we? So here I have an Excel table that has a bunch of data in it. And let's say I want to read just column C. So I'll go back over to my studio here. I'll pull out the read column. And we'll pick the table that we want to use. And we'll choose the column that we want to read. So we want to read column C. So let's go ahead and run it. And it takes a couple of seconds. It's reading the column. Now we'll check our variables. And as you can see here, we have all that information. So let's say I want to go ahead and sort a column in this table. Previously, this was not possible within Studio itself. You would have to use a VBS macro or JavaScript or something similar. Now, I can go back to Studio. I can pull out the sort range activity. I will pick the path to the file we're working with. The range has to be the entire document or what you want to change, so you don't want to sort one column by itself. So we'll do A2 to G21. That'll cover the entire table. And we'll set the column that I want to sort by. Let's go ahead and go with F. And we'll run it. As you can see, it literally takes a second. And if we open the table back up, you'll see that now column F is sorted. Just that easy. Can be. So now let's look at the activities we added to the PDF group. Instead of being forced to work with the entire file, you can now work with just individual pages or a range of pages. We also added an activity that allows you to get the number of pages in a PDF. So you can add this to your loops, to generate reports, separate PDFs by page count if you wanted to. Oh, and another great feature, you can now create PDFs within Studio Pro without any external programs or anything else required. The create PDF activity takes a folder with files. These files can be other PDFs, Word documents, Excel sheets, images, even HTML. And it can combine it all into a single PDF, which is perfect to keep all your data in one place. So, as an example, I have a folder here with a couple of different types of documents. And first I will take all of these documents and combine them into a single PDF. So we can add the combine to PDF activity, select the folder that I'm working with, and run it. And just a few seconds later, I have a full PDF with all the documents. And there it is. To pair with our added activities for PDFs, we have also added activities for a handful of API-based OCR engines on the web. You can find these here under the data extraction section. So with these activities, you would need to have your own credentials, so you would have to create an account with this vendor. But then you can use it to extract data using optical character recognition, just as you could with our OCR engines. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, we integrated Python as a new supported programming language within Studio Pro. By integrating Python, ElectroNeek's Summer'21 release makes it easy to scale your RPA development team. There are over 9 million developers around the world who write in Python. If you need to expand your team, you can access the world's largest developer community for talent acquisition. And with ElectroNeek's development environment, no-code and low-code features, new developers can start developing on the platform with relative ease. Now I'd like to share with you a very exciting feature. We call it cognitive web scraping. This feature now allows you to go to a website and extract data using structured data. It takes the site structure, the property of the elements, and allows you to manipulate it directly from the website. So all you have to do is specify the necessary elements for extraction using the new desktop picker. You can also mark unnecessary elements if they show up, and the picker will learn from that. So let's go ahead and check this out. So under web automation here, I pull out scrape structured data. I click on create new data relation file. In the new section, I have my data element. I'm going to go ahead and pick new element. Hit Control X over top of my list. All of them are highlighted in blue. Hit escape. I can preview this data. Now back in the studio, I choose what I want to extract. Enter text. I'm going to give it a name that can be used later. Make sure this is saved. Then in my other file, also save this one to make sure that it's saved. And then in my save table, you can see I'm going to save it as an Excel. Let's go ahead and run this. And then we can open up the Excel and see. There's my list. Studio Pro now includes version control. Our local development history feature adds functionality for saving versions of your workflows being developed and allows for movement back and forth between them. I'll show a quick example. Here's a workflow I will showcase later on in this video. Any changes I make and then save will automatically show up as a new revision. I can view these revisions in the File menu under File History. Here will be a list of each save. We can add comments to each one here. You can also easily flip back and forth between these revisions. Not only does file version help you keep track of the revisions, but you can also add comments so that you know what was changed between revisions. We have expanded authorization methods for HTTP requests, allowing you to connect to more third-party solutions and systems. Now, our HTTP request activity can easily handle bearer tokens manually or automatically with our new GetOAuth token activity. You can send this output of the authorization directly into an HTTP request activity using Save the Previous Result. This alleviates the need to transform it into any proper format first. Alright, now let's move on to Google Drive. So we've added a few activities that allow you to automate Google Drive. You can now upload files, download files. You can even create directories within your Google Drive. In the Summer'21 release, ElectroNeek added a surface automation action group for Citrix and RDP environments, allowing users to create workflows that use advanced on-screen graphical element detection and OCR technology. So now let's touch on another pain point for our MSPs. Trying to automate legacy Java applications. It's now possible. As you can see here, I'm able to hover over this SAP login, and you can see all the different elements that are now recognized by the system. Well, that's enough about our Studio Pro. Let's move on to the exciting new tools on our Orchestrator side. So our new release of Orchestrator with API integration allows bots to easily integrate with existing automation programs. This will greatly expand the ability of your bots to work with existing systems. For example, suppose you have a program that calculates stock prices, but then you want to use a robot to pass these prices to specific software through its interface. In this example, using the API helps you make the operation not only much easier, but also much faster. Now, I will showcase the list of API features. They're going to be broken down into several sections. These will include methods on how to handle bot runner events, algorithms, and individual runs. On the bot runner side, you can easily get a list of all the bot runners. The method returns general information about the bot runners in the organization, as well as specific information about them. So as you can see from this documentation, which will also be available on our Help Center after release, you could use different endpoints to get data from the API. For instance, the first one is get bot runners. You can see on the far right the information that is returned. You can get the ID of each bot runner. You can get the name of the machine that the bot is running on. You can get the current status, whether it's ready to run an algorithm, in the process of running one, or it's offline. You can see the user account that's tied to the bot runner, the version of the bot runner, and the team ID, which is important if you're using multi-tenancy in your organization. The next section returns all the same information about individual bot runners by using the ID. You can feed it an array of IDs to get information about each one. This also allows you to return workflow information if any workflows are assigned to the bot runner. Section 3 here is the same as Section 2, but this is information about a specific bot runner ID, and it gives you specific information about that individual bot runner on the machine. For both of these, if the bot runner ID is not found, you'll get an error message. The next API endpoint is about receiving launch data. So this API endpoint can be filtered with multiple parameters. It gives you information about the specific run, when it was started, when it was completed, whether the logs were turned on, even the workflow ID, and the account email that was tied to the account. And lastly, we have an endpoint that allows you to terminate all bot runner sessions. Alright, moving on along. Our next API endpoint is all about workflows. Here you can get a list of all published workflows in the organization, including tenants. This is needed in order to understand how many workflows there are. Getting information about workflows by their ID is easy. This method returns detailed information about the workflow, including the ID, the name, the description, and again, your team ID. If you use a specific workflow ID, you can get additional information like the assigned bot runners and information about them as well. You can also launch a specific workflow directly from the API. This is similar to the webhook capability that we had already in Orchestrator, but now you can do it straight through the API by the workflow ID. As well, if anything is going wrong with a specific workflow session, you can terminate it completely by using the ID and launching the API. So last but not least is our launch endpoint. This gives you specific information about a launch by ID, very similar information that you get with the other endpoints. This endpoint will allow you to grab the logs from a particular run, and again, if anything goes wrong, you can easily stop the workflow directly. The Summer'21 release introduces a number of new tools to help teams better manage and control their automation. With client dashboards, they now have an unprecedented level of visibility and control over robot execution of their clients. The dashboard shows you a top-down overview of your team, how many bots are ready, busy, and offline, how many hours your bots have consumed in the last 24 hours, week, or even a month, as well as success and error statuses of those for the same time periods. You will also be able to see how many workflows are in your system, total, scheduled, and currently running. This helps you monitor your clients' businesses in real time. By popular demand, we now have a solution for MSPs who want to keep solutions for different clients in one place, with appropriate data separation, of course. We now offer Multitenancy. This will allow you to connect a client's third-party orchestrator system to your team in order to control and monitor their robot execution. On the orchestrator screen here, you can see if there are any connected orchestrators. If there are none, you can either connect one or generate an access key so that your orchestrator can be connected to another team. You will not be able to chain orchestrator connections, as seen here in the red text. You will only be able to either connect to another team's orchestrator or have another team connect to yours. Once a workflow is added to your orchestrator, you will be able to assign it directly to bot runners on your team. Here's a quick example of how this is done. This bot was configured and uploaded to Orchestrator from another machine. First, I configure the bot runners. Then, I am able to select which machine to run this bot on immediately. Clicking on Run Now will start the bot running on that machine, as you can see here. There is no longer a need to go to each machine in order to facilitate this. Deploying one workflow to 50 machines is now as easy as a few clicks.
Okay, thanks, Timothy. To learn more, we invite you to schedule your own personalized demo of the ElectroNeek RPA platform. So you can find that on our website at electroneek.com/book-demo. So now we do have some time for Q&A. And again, please use the Zoom Q&A feature to ask any questions that you might have. And it looks like we have a few questions already here. So we have a question here, Timothy, on the cognitive web scraping feature. It says, with that feature, what happens if the locator details on the web page change?
So currently the web picker will we'll try to build, similar as the other web picker, it'll try to build a reliable selector from the beginning when it captures all the information. At the moment, the user can't influence that selector. You're able to add and remove based on what the picker picks. So if it's too specific and grabs more information than you need, you can remove information using Control Y to get rid of information that it grabs. But again, this is the first version of the tool. There might be a few kinks in it, but we plan to iron those out and make this much more compatible in the future.
Okay, thanks. We also have a number of questions here. I'm going to just pick out a couple here on something on the Orchestrator and Studio. It says for the Studio and Orchestrator it's offered on the cloud. What about on-premises option? Is that available?
Yeah, there is an on-prem version, and you would have to speak with the CSM or the account executive for your account to explore those options.
Okay. Says, does your Studio support database activities and features to interact with external databases?
Oh, absolutely. We can connect to external databases over RDP or virtual machines, and using the desktop automation setup, we can interact directly with those elements and automate anything through that.
Okay, great, thanks. There's a question here on AI and machine learning capabilities to increase accuracy around invoices, for example, in an AP process. So anything you can share there?
Yeah, at the moment, we don't have anything for AI or machine learning. Clients typically can use third-party vendors for that if they want to. We're still exploring the option of adding an AI or machine learning to the software, but it's not in this release.
Okay. All right, let's see.
However, they can use with the new PDF, the OCR setups that we have added, Clippa and NanoNets are actually able to use some kind of AI and machine learning as far as that goes. So if it's OCR related, then yes, we have a little bit in this.
Okay, great. All right, thanks. There's a question here about support for SAP's ERP solution, ECC 6.0. So I don't know if you have anything that would be specific to that release, but I know we do support SAP environments. Maybe you can share more details there.
So we haven't done testing on 6.0, but we have seen a huge improvement with the new Java picker that's in Studio Pro 6.0 that allows you to interact with those legacy programs. So theoretically, it should work perfectly fine with regards to SAP, but again, we haven't thoroughly tested it on that specific version.
Okay. All right, thanks. Does the picker now support C# apps?
And yes, for the same reasons I just listed about SAP, it should work flawlessly with the new Java style picker.
Okay, great. And I have a question here on how it supports how the Python support works.
So it works very similar to the JavaScript extension. So you would basically just link a Python program, and based on what is returned from the Python in the video, which again was blurry, we'll have a higher resolution of that later. But you could see that I used the sample Python example, and then using save the previous result, I was able to pull out information from that run Python code into further activities. So you could save the return of those that program block into variables or similar for usage in your bots.
All right, great, thanks. One more question here. Does the machine need to have the screen unlocked to deploy a bot from Orchestrator, like is required to run a bot that interacts with the screen?
So typically, yes, there are ways around. With RDP, you can have issues with minimized RDP or closed RDP, and usually the question as phrased is usually to deal with closed RDP. When the machine in question is in a closed RDP state, Studio is not able to unlock it manually. So it would have to be either unlocked first or preferably use it in a minimum RDP state.
Okay, thanks. Question here on does the execute.js block now work with global variables?
Yes, with this release, we now have a separation between global variables and local variables. Previously, the JavaScript block was specifically working only with local variables, and variables that were defined with the variable activity was considered global. Now we actually have a separation between the two, and JavaScript blocks and the Python blocks should be able to work with global variables.
All right. Last question here. Well, there's a question about demos for MSPs as well. I'm not quite sure if I understand the question exactly, but yes, of course, you can get a demo as a managed service provider, if that's your question. And then I have a question on what are the advantages of the central deployment capability that's in this release?
Well, the biggest advantage right now is the fact that I can develop a bot on my machine, upload it to Orchestrator, go to Orchestrator, and then instantly, with a few clicks that I showcased in the video, but instantly I would be able to deploy that same bot to run on 50 or even 100 machines. So scalability is absolutely huge with the new Orchestrator. If you have a lot of machines running in your system, you can easily take one bot and deploy it on 50 or 100 machines with literally a few clicks. And with the client dashboard, now you can keep a track of all that from a top-down view and have all the statistics right there at your fingertips. And again, this is the first iteration of the Orchestrator. We plan to do much more releases on this later to improve the quality and the amount of stats that we have. So look forward to more changes.
Okay, so that's the last question that we have right now. And if we didn't get to your question, we will try to respond to you offline. And I just wanted to say to everybody, thanks for attending today's session. And if you do have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out to us at care@electroneek.com. And we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as we can with an answer to any questions that we didn't get to answer today. So thanks for attending, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks, everybody. See you on the other side.
Thanks, Timothy.